I want to talk today about how I turned my phone into a productivity machine. In today's crazy world where our phones are all basically glued to our hands 24/7, figuring out ways to boost productivity is key. And by making some tweaks and setting up your phone in a way that increases your productivity, you can actually get more things done in less time and focus on the things that matter. So if you're looking to supercharge your phone and turn it into a productivity machine, then here's 6 steps that I would take to make that happen. Number 1, very easy and predictable, is to tidy up your phone. So that means tidy up your apps. Remove anything like apps clutter that you don't need, and also group apps into folders for things that relate. I like to arrange mine into folders for work, folders for productivity, folders for education, just so I know where everything is on my phone and how to access it. As I always like to say about my own space, a clear space equals a clear mind, and I feel the same way about my phone. My tip is also to make my home screen, or I guess the front screen when you first log in, make it as inspirational and as productive as possible. So what I mean by that is keep your most productive apps front and center, the ones that create the best habits for you, the ones that you use for work during the day. And I would take all the ones that you feel are, I guess, productivity inhibitors, and I would take those ones and put them on like the last page when you scroll through your iPhone. You want to make the ones that create bad habits, such as addiction to social media, the hardest to access, and keep them out of mind for most of the day. On the topic of tidying up apps, I also think it's really important to tidy up your social apps within the apps, if that makes sense. So for example, on Instagram, unfollow people who no longer bring you joy, aren't inspirational, aren't people currently in your life. I would go through and clean that all up. And if you're someone who is worried about unfollowing people and that's not really the route you want to take, I also think the mute feature is great. If you're feeling overwhelmed with just all these updates from people that you're no longer close with, you can mute them and try to just curate your first feed when you go onto that phone to be the most inspirational and the ones that spark the most joy. You know, if dopamine is what we go to these apps for, then make sure that when you're getting it, it's like ultimate dopamine. You want to be the most inspired and feel the happiest when you come off those apps, if that's the case, instead of filling it with junk that you don't need to go through, such as like celebrity gossip pages and things like that. If you find your phone, like your social media apps, are actually recommending those type of pages you to a lot, I would take maybe half an hour out of your day once to go on the phone, go search for content that you want to see more of. So this could be entrepreneurs that inspire you. I really like art history accounts, things that are a little bit more educational. Find a bunch of them, follow them, go through and like a bunch of their posts. On the recommended page, make sure you're liking ones that are posts you actually want to see more of, and tell your phone to give you more of those recommendations and spend less of your time going through celebrity gossip or just things that you don't really want to see on your social page. Okay, step 2. So we talked about grouping apps into folders. I would make sure to download all the productivity apps that you use, but also don't download too many of them, because I find when it's just super scattered, you probably won't use all of them. Keep them all in a folder, somewhere easy to see. I like to keep it on the first page when you log in, as I mentioned. My go-to productivity apps, Notion, of course. I have like 100 videos on Notion on this channel. Well, that's an exaggeration, but a lot of Notion videos. The Notion calendar that they just released, I'll actually link a video here where I go through how I set up my Notion calendar for optimal productivity, because I really love that app. I also love the Notes app, nice and simple, but I use it all the time. I also love using Be Focused, which is like the Pomodoro timer technique. So that really helps to just set a timer for when I need to work on things. And I actually set this app up as a widget so that when I first, access my phone, it's right there on the screen, super easy to set up and start a timer. I'm not getting lost into going into different things on my phone, because if I want to be working on something and using that timer, I want to make it super simple and easy to access. Speaking of widgets, let's talk about some of my favorite widgets that help with productivity and inspiration. So I have a list of my favorite widgets here. The first one is the Color Widgets app. So this is a fun and easy display of like time, dates, your phone battery. My other widget that I like to use is called World Clock. I set it up to have different time zones where I usually work with different clients, because my clients majority of the time don't happen to be in the same city as me. I have the Pomodoro timer that I mentioned. It's called Be Focused. So this is just to set a timer for me to work on things. And I actually stacked this with the world clock so that I can just switch through either one on that widget super easy. The other widget I really love is called Libby. I think I've talked about this on my channel before. It's a public library app that I use, and I really like to have it as a widget so I can see, hey, this book is about to be returned, let's finish it up. It's usually different audiobooks that I rent out. So really, really like that. Rent, borrow. Different audiobooks that I borrow. It's really interesting to borrow an audiobook. Anyways, I have the Stoic app for daily quotes. I just really love how simple this one looks. And then one other widget that I use is a Pinterest mini vision board. One of my friends recommended this to me, and I love it because you can just set it to a certain board on your Pinterest. So I set it to my little vision board, and it'll go through, I don't know how often it rotates, but throughout the day it rotates through images that I've saved to that vision board. So when I go on my phone and see it, I'm inspired. So I try to keep all my widgets to be inspirational and also help with productivity as well. Okay, so step 3, you want to make sure that you use reminders and notifications to your benefit. I like to set them up to help me stay on schedule with things and different tasks. I love that you can customize your notifications so that they don't bug you and they're not too annoying. I like to remove pretty much all notifications at the moment. I used to have the little badges that would show up, but I've removed those recently too. And if you're really worried about removing all notifications and missing something important, I have a little tip for that later. So step 4, for those times where you really need to focus, use the do not disturb mode. Or use the different focus modes. I really, really like this feature. I set up a focus profile for work, so when I'm working throughout the day, I'm not getting notifications for things like social media. It's just giving me notifications for things like an email or a phone call, and you can set it so that only certain people can actually reach you during this focus profile period. I know some different YouTubers have used it for like downtime, like a meditative time or things like that, where they just set up their phone so that only certain apps are even visible. I haven't actually gone that intense with my focus profiles. You can remove apps so that you don't see them on your phone, and say you only set like your work apps to the front screen. I do it mainly just to shut off certain notifications and keep myself a little bit more focused in that time. Now, my tip for those who are worrying about, if I turn off all my notifications, I might miss something important. This is my tip for you. What you can do is set your notifications to give you a notification update, so a general update. I have mine set for, I think, like 8:30 a.m. and then 5 p.m. so that in the morning I get like a overall, like, what have I missed over the night, or what have I missed this morning? It'll give me a little update for notifications for the apps. Then I set up my focus profile. I don't see any notifications throughout the day. Then in the evening at 5 p.m. it delivers me another update. So all the notifications that I missed, and trust me, none of them are really ever that important, but I also had that fear of like, what if I'm missing something? It gives me all the notifications for things that I didn't see throughout the day, so that way you're never really missing anything for long, and you do give yourself some down period time to not be distracted by notifications. And along with setting up notifications to deliver at certain times, everything like that, I think setting up boundaries is great for your phone. So this could be screen time limits. I'm notoriously bad for going over my screen time limits. I actually have a video, I'll link this one here too, about my YouTube addiction. I thought I was crushing it last year when I wasn't going on Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat often, but then I realized I was just filling all that time with YouTube. So we're working on that this year, trying to cut down on that. Not perfect, but we're getting there. And setting up screen time limits really helps, because sometimes I'll be really surprised if I've used like a full 2 hours on YouTube that day and didn't realize, and I'll be like, hey, you're done for the day. So that's one really good boundary you can set. But another boundary you can set, I actually do this in my office. Ooh. Do you see this little guy I have back here? What I do is I set my phone on here, and then I set him on the side of the table, and I say I can't touch my phone. What I like is that it's not fully out of sight, out of mind, but I know when I'm working, if I see my phone there, I know I'm not using it. Whereas if it's in my pockets and stuff, this could just totally be a me thing. I'm more likely to just go on it and not think about it. But when my phone's set aside, I'm like very aware that I'm not on my phone right now and not checking it. So I say that as I take my phone back, but physical boundaries can be really helpful too. Okay, step 5, time blocking is also a game changer. And you can set this up on your phone in many different ways. I did post a Notion calendar, kind of my planning routine video recently, and that one I really talk about how I set up time blocking. I mentioned that I had like a love-hate relationship with time blocking, and now I'm a little bit more lenient on how I set it up. It's a little bit more relaxed, but it does help to have structure. I like to set up my time blocking with Notion calendar, and what I do is I add it as a widget. I actually stacked it with my quote of the day. So if I scroll under it, I can be like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be right now. This is what I'm doing. I can easily click on it and just check what I'm supposed to be working on that day. Mine are very rough time blocks. If you watch that video I posted, it's a little bit more clear on what I do, but I don't like to restrict myself too much because I get a little stressed if I can't keep up with the time blocking, but I keep like a general time block of what I should be working on throughout the day. Step 6, lastly, don't underestimate the power of keyboard shortcuts. Shortcuts is actually what I use to make my phone look a certain way. So you may notice that my phone has like black and white logos, black and white icons. I set those up through shortcuts. Super easy to do. I just saved the images that I use for the icons off things like Pinterest or the internet, save them to my phone, then create a shortcut for that app and be like, okay, we're gonna open it to the home screen and then add the image that you're gonna use for that. And that way you can make your phone look a certain way. And I actually like making all my icons black and white. I've heard tips from other people online who say they make their whole phone black and white scale because it makes it less addictive. Like the colorful apps aren't like drawing you in as much. I didn't want to make it black and white fully, so my phone still has color. Like I like going through photos and things and not having it all in black and white. But I did make my icons black and white, and I do think it actually really does help to not want to click on them as much. Like you're not going to scroll by and see like a big red YouTube sign to click on. It's just simple black and white now, and it kind of all blends in together. So far I'm finding that really helpful to reduce how much I want to click on the more addictive apps. And lastly, this isn't like a final step, it's just a reminder that taking some downtime away from our phones is really important as well. A lot of people do things like a social media detox. I think I need to do a phone detox this year, like lock my phone away for a week or something, because it's so stuck and glued to me all the time that I almost feel like the world's gonna end if I don't have my phone on me. And I feel like this would be good proof that no, the world does not end when you don't have your phone, and it's totally fine. So if I do end up doing that this year, you bet I'm going to film and document it and let you know how it goes. But so far, this has really helped me with making my phone more productive, helping me throughout the day, reducing the amount of time I spend on addictive social media apps. And I really hope that this was helpful to you, or maybe you took some inspiration or something new for setting up your phone. But that's all I have for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next video very, very soon. Bye, friends.